Hello. We hope you are enjoying Illuminate. My name is Megan Bohamama. I am the Vice President of Content Strategy and Campaigns here at Sumo Logic. And we're very excited to have Nithyanand Mehta from Webscale. He is the VP and GM at Webscale. And we're going to hear a little bit more about their business and how they scale their operations with Sumo Logic. Nithyanand, hello. How are you?
Thank you, Megan. Nice to be on this, and thank you for having me here.
Yeah, we think you have a great story to tell. And Nith, I'm wondering if you can start by first telling us about Webscale, what it is, and what you and your team specifically do at Webscale for your customers.
Well, Webscale is a one-stop shop for all infrastructure and DevOps SRE needs for e-commerce companies around the world. Whether it is a small time e-commerce, medium size, enterprise, irrespective of what size you are, Webscale takes care of e-commerce companies around the world, all their infrastructure needs, starting from their cloud computing needs, starting from CI/CD, managing the application infrastructure 24/7, packaged with our managed services, and also the delivery part of it, which is the security, CDN, proxy, load balancing, right? So I can go on and on because we do a lot of different things for our customers, right? But at the end of the day, we are the one-stop shop for our enterprise e-commerce from all over the world, Magento, SAP, irrespective of what platform that we're using, right? So we ensure our customer e-commerce sites are up and running 24/7, performing extremely well, and are secure. And that's basically what we do for all our customers.
That sounds like a very challenging role to play. When your e-commerce customers come to you, Nith, what specifically are they looking for? What is the most important thing that they want Webscale to help them with?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the way I described it, it sounded it's easy, but it's not. When our customers come to us, they look for a couple of things, right? One is availability, ensuring they are up and running 24/7, because as we all know, we've heard this several times before, every minute of downtime means a loss of revenue, not just a revenue, brand reputation, also employee productivity, because you have developers deploying it 24/7. Right? So ensuring that they have 100% of time is extremely important. At the same time, also performance, right? Which is even more critical, ensuring they're delivering amazing performance for their customers. And finally, security, ensuring that their application is secure, irrespective of where the user is accessing. And at the same time, their engineers accessing their infra and the back end is secure and protected, right? So they come to us so they can focus on their primary business, and we ensure that they don't have to worry about availability, performance, and security.
Okay, so interesting and challenging. And just to give us an idea of scale, how many approximately different websites is your team supporting around the world?
Yeah, so we've got all types of customers. We've got customers who get like 100,000 of page views. We have customers who get millions, billions of page views per month. We have customers who are on a single cloud platform. We have customers on a multi-cloud platform. So we've got all types of customers, and we ensure, and it's kind of critical for us to ensure that all of them have the same priorities, right? Because for a large e-commerce website, it's important that they continue to remain large, which means provide amazing customer experience and stay competitive. And for the smaller e-commerce customers who want to grow, who want to establish their business, again, it's even more important, which is they stay competitive, and they're also available, build their reputation, ensure it is secure, and there is minimal or no downtime whatsoever. And again, with Google Cloud, with Google's emphasis on core web vitals, everybody in the e-commerce space is concerned about performance, and we are here to take care of that. And we do that on a daily basis.
Awesome. And so you're supporting thousands of different websites around the world, all different sizes. And just to give everyone here an idea of the environment, what sort of environments are you supporting? You mentioned Google Cloud. Can you tell us all the different environments that you support for these websites, Nith?
Yeah. So, well, we have customers across, right? We have customers who are only on AWS. We have customers on Google Cloud or Azure. And we have customers who are multi-cloud or multi-zone in AWS and so on, right? And it could be from an architecture point of view, it could be a traditional monolith kind of an architecture, or we also have customers on kind of an hybrid model, Dockers, Kubernetes. So it kind of scales and it ranges from all types of architecture, multi-CDN and so on, right? So it just boils down to a lot of things that we see in the industry is the maturity from an adoption of these technologies to being able to adapt to some of these changing needs and being able to, for example, for larger customers, which means they have a lot of changes, which means their deployment phases are also pretty high, and they've got to be able to adapt to those needs and ensuring the infrastructure is catering to those needs, right? So those are some of the things that we focus on.
Got it. Okay, so you're supporting thousands of websites. You've got a huge variety in the environment that you're supporting. What were some of the challenges that your team was running into as you were growing and supporting more and more websites, maybe getting some more complexity? What sort of challenges were you seeing?
Yeah, so before I could join Webscale, I spent about 10 to 12 years in the observability APM monitoring space, I worked with hundreds of enterprises around the world, helping them implement monitoring strategies, because what I learned in that 10, 12 years time is, as everything starts with ensuring you have visibility, ensuring you have data, right? Because data tells you what's wrong, what's working, what's not working, and so on, right? And so when I joined Webscale and we looked at the scale at which we have to manage these infrastructure, enable our teams. Now I've got DevOps engineers, SREs, system admins working around the clock from multiple geographies. I've got people in the US, across India, Europe, and so on. Now, the only way I can enable all of these teams is ensuring one is they have access to customer information, real time, 24/7, so they know what to act on, right? Now, because we deal with such large number of customers and at scale, a lot of noise can have a detrimental impact on the team's productivity, right? And toil and other things kick in, right? So very important, ensure they have access to data, and most importantly, ensure they have access to the right data at the right time, right? So I think my goal was, how can we do this? Because when we do this, the teams become more efficient. So again, 1,000 infrastructure, though it's one company, it's 1,000 different customers. How can we have a unified yet granular visibility into customer infra, health, performance, and so on, right? So I thought, if we have to grow and scale this, the very first mission is to ensure we have access to customer information on demand, and most importantly, the right information at the right time. I think that was the first problem that we wanted to solve, and that is what we've been focusing on over the last 1 year.
Cool. And so did you have a system that you were already using that just wasn't giving you that overall visibility, or what did you have in place beforehand and then before you started looking?
Sure. Well, we did. I did mention that I came from the monitoring space, but we have a lot of very seasoned, experienced engineers here at Webscale who've probably used dozens of tools out there in the market. And our founder happens to be an IBM fellow engineer with a lot of patents in neural networks and so on. So we have a homegrown, a pretty good observability platform which looks at metrics and logs, which is collected from our proxy or load balancer. And then we also had a few other tools which were looking at like metrics, system health, infra health. And we also had some manual efforts of looking at by manually running queries and looking at the logs and so on, right? So we did have things in place. We do still use some of those, especially our Webscale's observability platform, is pretty powerful to look at real-time traffic and understand the usage pattern, the error rate, and so on. But what we also wanted to include along with that is granular information of customer infrastructure, right? So our engineers had to look at either CloudWatch or a Stackdriver on Google or any other tools on different platforms, which was working, but how can we bring down something that was taking 15, 20 minutes to 5 minutes, right? Because that makes a lot of difference. 15, 20 minutes per customer, if it's once in a day, then let's do the math for 1,000 customers, right? So if we had to get efficient, how can we bring it down to 2 to 3 minutes, right? And how can we have all of this in one place so we get a 30,000, 40,000 feet view, and at the same time, at any given point, look at every customer's data and get into the granular information, right? So we wanted to have a centralized place we could look at all of this and basically improve the speed at which we function, right? And that's where our search for a centralized observability platform started sometime last year, and then and there you go, Sumo happened.
Fantastic. And so you chose Sumo Logic. Was there anything specific about Sumo Logic that really helped add to the homegrown solution that you guys were already leveraging?
Yeah, sure. Well, the very first thing is, like I said, the team over here is pretty technically sound. We have engineers with SREs with 10 years of system admin experience, or SREs with 25 years of system engineering experience, and so on, right? So based on the organization that we have, we knew that we have really good people. What we wanted was ease of use, right? Because hey, if I have to simplify their job, I want to do them to focus on larger initiatives, reliability aspects, and so on. So the very first priority was ease of use. Very little time to instrument, set up, centralized all of this, because I wanted them to focus on enabling customers rather than and helping, managing, setup, and all of this, right? So ease of use is very important. And then because we also deal with a lot of logs and other things, a simpler query language, right? Sumo Logic's query language is pretty straightforward, simple to use. So that kind of worked out really well, right? And another thing is in our setup, because we work with numerous customers, we wanted all of them in one place, but yet be able to have them separated out. And the library aspects of Sumo is pretty cool, right? And I can keep going on. I think you guys have a ton of good features. Again, it's the monitoring experience that kind of makes me enjoy monitoring in general, right? But you also have amazing functionalities like some root cause explorer, which is really good because hey, how about looking at one customer and seeing the root cause, or at the same time, let's take a look at all the events that are happening at any given point and see, is there a latency degradation for any customer? Is there an error rate? Is there a capacity load problem? I have one snapshot which tells me what's happening, right? That's pretty powerful. So my team knows, hey, let's prioritize on this because this is impacting availability. Hey, let's prioritize on this because this is impacting their capacity, which means before it goes down, let's act on it, right? So it helps my team to prioritize, which goes back to ease of use, increase the speed at which we function, and in turn helps us be more reliable, deliver what we promise to our customers, and at the same time be more productive.
Awesome. That's great. And so I have to ask you, did your time go down in how you were able to respond from like 20 minutes per issue or incident? Were you able to change that?
Yeah, absolutely, Megan. I think we've come a long way in terms of how fast we are diagnosing and resolving issues, right? And what used to take 15, 20 minutes earlier is taking a few minutes for us to get to the root cause of the problem now, which is a big improvement. Overall, the number of incidents that we've avoided by looking at metrics or logs proactively and working on rectifying some of those things has helped us mature as an organization. And most importantly, we are also focusing on some proactive initiatives based on what we've gotten, right? So it's not just about, hey, we are seeing some 5xx or there is a capacity problem. Now that we have that in control and we've come a long way in terms of how fast we can resolve it, let's take a step back and look at how can we push the needle for our customers. Like, performance is an ongoing journey, right? So once you've got a hang of other aspects of the business, now we are working with customers proactively, saying, hey, we see at certain times of the day, your DB is a little more busier compared to what it used to be, right? So we look at trend analysis and so on and say, there's probably a cron that's running somewhere, or there's probably some slow queries or sleep queries. We look at those logs, look for those patterns, and now we are helping customers and developers to go back and proactively address some of those in a proactive way, right? So it's now moved from, hey, how quickly can we resolve this problem, which is happening, great. Now, also, what can we do things proactively for our customers so they can avoid any problems in the future by looking for anomalies, which is extremely important. That way, our customers are also happy because we are finding problems which their developers can go back and resolve and potentially avoid downtimes during high peak season, right? In a couple of months, it's Black Friday, and supporting e-commerce, Black Friday, Cyber Monday is extremely critical. And if we are able to do this proactively, customers are extremely happy about that.
Awesome. So your customers are very happy with your proactive approach. How has it impacted your team morale to be more proactive?
Yeah. So, you look at 4 or 5 different places to navigate, correlate. How does that sound? Versus you look at a screen and you have the correlation already there on your screen and you know what to look at next, right? So I think anybody would be happy with that. And at the end of the day, in the industry that we are in, our technology is evolving constantly, right? And there are so many things for engineers to spend time on learning, experimenting, and implementing those, right? And if they're able to spend lesser time on detecting, diagnosing, and resolving, they are able to do more or productive of things that could transform how we function as a company and also how our customers function, right? So I think it has had a positive impact in general, not just on our customers' business, but also on all our engineers who are managing this customer infrastructure and using Sumo on a daily basis.
That's awesome. I think that's what every organization wants. I have to ask you about something because I think you guys got so expert at using Sumo Logic. You are now delivering your own service. I think it's called Deep Observability based on Sumo Logic. Could you talk a little bit about that service offering for your customers and what it consists of?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we've done is considering we are an infra provider, and also, so there is the cloud providers behind the scenes. But on top of that, we have our Webscale platform, right, which does multiple things, which is a CDN, which also does a job of content optimization, which is also taking care of your layer 7 protection from a security point of view, bot management, DDoS protection, and a lot of other aspects of it. And then we have our CI/CD platform and so on, right? So we have 2 things from a visibility point of view to provide to our customers: provide them access to their traffic patterns and what's going on in real time, and also provide them with actually 3 things, and also provide them with the infra around the system health and so on. And the third aspect of is the application logs and all the other type of logs that we collect. Now, this is important because the developers can then leverage this to focus on and optimization efforts and so on, right? So, which means this data is now not just helpful for Webscale as a company, it's now also helpful for all those developers out there who are supporting our customers and so on, right? So, and what we've started seeing is customers start asking for that data and information, and it's pretty useful for them. And right, so we kind of open it up for our customers also to access their environment And the beauty about this is because we have those libraries, which allows you to separate each environment, we can now open that up to customers to access their own data as well, right? So that has worked out great as well.
I love that because so many times people are talking about wanting to break down the silos within their own organization, but you've broken down the silos in your organization, also just extended it to your customers too. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, another important point which I should mention is typically in any IT organization, there's something called as finger pointing, right? In a good way, right? Which is, hey, it's something's not working, infra looks good, network looks good, it's not the code, but there is something that's not working, right? So where is the problem, right? And there is often it's kind of a black box, unknown unknowns, and so on. What things could things that could really make things transparent and reduce the number of unknowns is having access to data, right? So now there is no more finger pointing. Considering we are the infra as well as managed services provider, here's the data, and data speaks for itself, right? So it also helps in ensuring there is transparency amongst our customer base when they have access to their infra health, which is managed and provided by us.
Love it. Okay, cool. And finally, to sort of wrap up, what do you think is next for Webscale and Sumo Logic? How are you going to build on all the work that you guys have been doing this year?
Sure. Well, we've been focusing on a lot of automation around this. This year is dedicated for automation. So like I said, previous year was more about the observability, ensuring that we're able to resolve problems. And now this year is all about automation, and we are leveraging Sumo Logic to automate some of our workflows based on the data and the intelligence that we get from Sumo, right? So that's going to be our theme for this year. Around some self-healing capabilities, leveraging the data that we get, and have some deeper integrations between our platform and Sumo. That's going to be a priority for this year. In addition to that, there are a lot of compliances, right? So often when you talk about Sumo and when monitoring, it's about infra and so on, but there's also a lot of compliances that we have started using Sumo Logic for, whether it is PCI. We recently completed a SOC 2 certification, which involves a lot of reporting and so on. So we've opened it up to our operations and security team also to start using Sumo for their security and their operations needs. But as far as the customer operations and support and success is concerned, we're going to focus on leveraging Sumo for automation, for self-healing, right? And based on Sumo. There are some customers who are on an auto-scaling platform and so on. So we are also looking at leveraging Sumo in some areas there, right? So there's a lot of automation-related focus that we're focusing on.
Awesome. That sounds really exciting, and sounds like you guys are going to be moving even faster and doing more to help your customers and your teams. Nith, is there anything else you want to say or share with the Illuminate audience?
Well, nothing in general. I think we've come a long way as a company, and another secret is probably having a dedicated team, right? And now, based on what I've seen, is having a dedicated team who's focusing on constantly improving your monitoring strategy helps you achieve things and helps you make that constant progress, right? So the one thing, I do talk to a lot of people around implementing monitoring strategy and so on. And the one thing that really works is having a great platform, but having dedicated people who are constantly evolving and making those smaller improvements on a daily basis, right? I know I just summarized all the improvements that we've done, but it's the team that kind of adopts it and focuses on it, making those minor changes, improvements every single day, right? I think that makes a lot of difference. So if there is a recommendation, that's one big thing as well.
Yeah, the people stack still counts.
It does.
Great. Nith, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for sharing Webscale's experience on, growing and scaling with Sumo Logic. We really appreciate it. It's wonderful to have you here this morning. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And we hope you enjoy your time at Illuminate. Thank you.
Thank you.